Hey everyone, it is your sort of okay player, TeamFightTonka. With the new patch coming out in a couple days, with lots of things getting small touches, I wanted to go over an extremely consistent top 3, top 4 comp if you can hit some key units and play flexibly enough early to get there. Aside from Spirit Z, which obviously requires a specific chosen, I believe that the Frozen Spirit Bomb is the best iteration of Forcible Spirit slash Ahri build. It uses Vanguards, Mystics, and 2 Spirit. So previously Masters, I'm currently Diamond 4, making the climb back up. I've been getting fucking extremely wrecked trying to find comps that are hard forcible, so I've been taking a beating. But if you're going to take anything from this video, it's to not get too discouraged from loss streaks. Shit happens. Try to see your mistakes and fix them, and try to climb. This comp specifically strung me enough wins to get me back into Diamond without really having to change anything in my play style, except this comp is very much a fucking just hit or you're going to lose real bad. That said, if you like this content or you have any feedback for me, please do that YouTube thing and leave a comment below, like the video and subscribe. It helps me and I like helping you, and that makes you great. I've linked all the comp info below in an Imgur, but if you want the breakdown and how to successfully get to endgame and what to look for, stick around and let's get to it. What a quality title card. Okay, so like some of my other videos, let's go over the why of this comp. So the most obvious reason is that this comp does not need to run Force Spirit, and it also runs Shen. So in 1020, if you haven't read the patch notes, Force Spirit is getting a 10% nerf, and Shen is actually getting a lot of buffs from his mana, his armor, and even 3-star Shen, which realistically no one's going to hit anyways. This means that this comp should still be just as forcible right now as it's going to be later this week, and realistically even stronger with Shen. It does need to be noted that there is a percent change at level 8 for dropping 4 cost units. So right now on live, there's a 25% chance to get 4 cost units at level 8, but that's dropping down to 20% in 10.2 or 10.20. So it's definitely going to hurt this build, but statistically, everyone else is also looking for their 4 costs anyways. So your power is going to go down in finding those units, but it's going to be relative to everyone else chasing 4 costs. Like, it's an across the board change. So let's go over the key units in this Frozen Spirit Bomb comp, and they are Ahri and Sejuani, hence the name of the comp. So with this build, the idea is that Sejuani will freeze the front line, Ahri will drop bombs on them, they will get crazy attack speed, and this will continue until you win or you go into overtime and win anyways. This follows a general set 3 mentality of Vanguard Mystic, but it's a bit harder to hit because instead of chasing 3 costs like Jace and Cassiopeia, you're chasing a lot more 4 costs. So you're looking for the Aatroxes, the Sejuanis, the Ahris, the Cassiopeias, the Shen. So it's definitely higher risk, but if you do hit, it's a super easy top 4 with the right items. Some other upsides to this comp is that it absolutely crushes the Ashe Brawler comp for the most part and really destroys the Dusk Riven comps. If you can get a Sejuani with the correct items, she's like an invincible tank, and it's just amazing, just a CC machine. I find this comp consistently struggles against Chosen Zed and 4-star Aphelios with Spirit, but since both of them rely on 4 Spirit, this might be a better matchup once 1020 comes around. That's a water break. So this comp has a good amount of hits that you can make for chosen units because realistically you can roll with Vanguards, Mystics, or Spirit as the chosen. But the absolute best part about this comp that I've found is that you can force it without hitting any of the chosen units. So you're probably not going to win, but you can top 4 without having ever picked up a late game chosen unit. There are definitely best in slot items for this comp, but the secret the secret to this comp is actually just rushing your sedge items first, because your early game is generally pretty trash, especially if you can't play flexibly. And this means that you can reliably take a vest or a belt or a cloak and really not feel like garbage about not getting a bow or a sword off the first carousel. So you want to build a Sunfire Cape, also getting nerfed in 1020, but not by too much, and a Dragon Claw at all times. Even though Force Spirit is not going to be as strong in the next patch, there's so much magic damage going around. I think Dragon Claw is just getting slept on. I think it's great. You throw it on a tank, and it just nullifies any spell damage for the most part. My favorite Ahri items are obviously going to be Guardian Angel and then 2 Jeweled Gauntlets. It is very difficult to get those along with your other tank items. So what I've found is I'm actually able to consistently get a Guardian Angel, a Sojin, and a Jinsu's Rageblade on Ahri. Those are my favorite consistent items to grab every game, and I will go for those if I can't get what I really want. Mainly because I think it is necessary to try to get a Thief's Glove on Aatrox before you fully itemize your Ahri. So if you're going Thief's Glove and you also need to get 2 more crit gloves, there's 4 crit gloves. It's very unlikely you're going to get that every single game. This comp doesn't need to run 3 stars, but you can look to 3-star Thresh, Janna, Yuumi, depending on how you high roll. I've had a couple games where I've 3-starred Sejuani or Ahri. Just if you hit them first, you can just keep chasing them because of the shot mechanic. But it's going to be easier to 3-star Thresh, Janna, and Yuumi because, like I mentioned earlier, 4-cost rates are going from 25 to 20%. But the flip side of that is at level 8, 2 costs get a 5% increase. So you can hit those 3-cost 2-star those 3-star 2-cost units a little easier. There is a big risk to this build, and if you look through my match history, you'll see the games when I try to force it. When you're on your roll down at level 8, if you don't hit, you're going to bottom 4. You either have to pivot, grab something else on the way, or you just need to hit. So it's a very high risk, high reward comp. Just keep that in mind when you're playing this. Okay, that was a lot of talking. Let's blast through these early game notes. So key takeaways from early game is that unless you get a crazy high roll of like full 2-star units or an absurdly good chosen, I have had the best consistency by loss streaking early. So I try to loss streak as safely as possible. I find even if you win streak early, because you're going for such a late game tank oriented comp, it's very difficult to keep a win streak, and you just make so much more gold by losing. Getting like 5 to 6 loss streak and just holding that for as long as you can without bleeding out is great. I'll generally hit 8 around 45 health with about 60 gold to roll, sometime between 4-5 and 5-1. So that's hitting 8 and then actually being able to roll 60 gold. It's really great. Your key units that you're looking for early are Thresh, Janna, Kindred, and Yuumi. So the PvE rounds are super important to establish your early Vanguards. Because of the new shot mechanic, I will actually never buy anyone except for Garen, Wukong, or Zed in my first 3 PvE rounds because those are the units I want to 2-star ASAP. You can note that a 1-star Garen, Wukong, Maokai, or Tahm Kench can 1v3 the minion rounds in round 2 if you have nothing to buy from your bench. So yeah, if you don't hit many tank items early, you're going to look to grab an early DPS unit. So I like to use Zed until I can find a Kindred, Yuumi, or Philios. I'll never miss an econ interval early. So if I have a pair of Garens, I will absolutely just sell one to make sure I hit that next econ interval. So this is an example of a level 4 board you can play. 3 Vanguard with a Janna. Janna kickers are so great, they work in every comp. Here's a version of a level 5 board. This is a pretty high roll level 5 board with 2-3 costs, but you're looking to try to get in 2 Vanguard, 2 Mystic, and then 1 DPS of some sort. You'll notice that I try to automatically slam my tank items, so Sunfire Cape, Dragon's Claw, those types of things. Your level 6 board is going to try to always be this. This is the best level 6 board I think you can run. It doesn't matter who your Vanguards are. These are just standard Vanguard holders. Thresh, you don't want to itemize. That is the important thing. You actually keep Thresh for the late game comp 100% of the time. So if you end up putting all your items on him and then you hit a 2-star Sejuani, you're going to have to sell Thresh to put the items there. So I will put my items on Garen, Wukong, or Hecarim. But your level 6 is going to be 2 Vanguard, 2 Mystic, 2 Hunter, and 2 Spirit. This is when you can start to consider win streaking, especially if you have a lot of DPS items and you have a strong 2-star Kindred at this point. You can win streak with this comp straight into the early stages of level 7. Speaking of 7, this should be hopefully when you manage to high roll a couple units. So maybe you hit the Shen, maybe you hit an Aatrox. In this case, you're going to just start picking up the 4-cost units that you need. This is your ideal board at level 7 if you manage to high roll a Cassiopeia, because that will give you Dusk. And let's move on to the next part, because this picture is not part of the comp. Okay, so let's go over the sort of 4 variations of your endgame comp. So this comp rarely, I'm going to say rarely, I never go to level 9 with this comp. I will stay at level 8 to try to 3-star my 4-cost units, or just sort of roll to stabilize the board. So this is if you hit a chosen Vanguard. Your chosen Vanguard you can hit are Aatrox, Sejuani, or Thresh. I don't think it's worth it to keep any of the other Vanguards because they don't fit your comp. So just keep them early, but chuck them in the garbage because these are the ones you want. You want to have no chosen rather than low-level chosen that you're not using. Because of how long you're going to be rolling at 8, there's a pretty high chance you're going to hit something else you can use instead. So for 4 Vanguard, pretty self-explanatory. You're going to have 4 Vanguard, then you're going to tech in 4 Mystics, them being Shen, Yuumi, Cassiopeia, and Zilean. Until you hit Zilean, you will run Janna. If you manage to 3-star Janna, you'll actually drop Shen instead of Zilean. Now in 10.2, that might be the wrong call because of how much stronger Shen is, but that's sort of up to you at that point. Things to keep in mind with this comp are, in this current setup, you're very susceptible to getting Ahri pulled in by Aatrox, which is fine if you have Guardian Angel, but if you get to this point of the game and you don't have a Guardian Angel or a QSS on Ahri, you can't use this setup. You're going to have to move Ahri to the middle, make sure you've got some other people in the corner to get those Aatrox pulls. But if Ahri gets pulled without any sort of defense mechanism, she will die, you will go 8th. Okay, so now we'll go over the Mystic version of this. So generally you'll go into Mystic, you're probably going to hit Janna or Yuumi. That's my experience most of the time. In the event that you hit Janna, you will obviously keep her. You won't run the Shen, and you'll make sure to keep a Hecarim or maybe a 2-star 1-cost unit. If you notice in the last image, I had Shen at the back. There are lots of assassins. You want to use Shen, Hecarim, whatever your extra unit is that you're not itemizing. You need to match that melee unit against the assassins or shade units to buy your backline some more time. So in this scenario, we're seeing that there's, let's say there's a Zed directly across from Hecarim. If Hecarim is here when Zed jumps, it's going to buy Yuumi enough time to start alting, buy Ahri enough time to alt, and you should be able to either win the round or mitigate losses. So like I said, if you do run Mystic Chosen, you need to run that extra Vanguard. The jump from 2 Vanguard to 4 is so important, especially with how tanky you're making Sejuani anyways. Everything else in the comp, roughly the same. Running Janna actually makes it easier to play against Aatrox, because you can move Yuumi over as well, and they should get pulled before Ahri does. Okay, so this is my favorite variation of the comp, but it has very specific requirements. That is, you can't have Mystic Janna. You need to either hit Mystic Shen, Mystic Cassiopeia, or Mystic Yumi. The reason for that is you also want to be able to hit a Vanguard Spatula, and the best person to use that is definitely Shen. So what this lets you do is it lets you run Azir and have Azir to sort of bait out the Aatrox pulls. Along with having Azir, you can use him to move his soldiers to one of the front lines to eat up something like a Jhin or an Ashe right off the bat so that you're not immediately taking aggro onto units that you care about. So in this example, these Lissandras are your soldiers. This is how I will generally set it up. You can also move Azir over where Yumi is. Yumi and Aatrox generally cast around the same time. So what Yumi's going to do is she's going to get her ult off, go to one of the front lines to heal them, and then she's going to jump back here to Ahri. In some cases, she'll jump to the wrong side, and Ahri can get pulled. So if you want to guarantee, just move Azir over to where Yumi is. And let's go over the last variation. I think this is the weakest variation. It's also going to be nerfed in the next patch, and it doesn't allow you to run Shen. You only run this variation if you hit a Spirit Ahri. Legitimately the only time. Spirit Yumi, Spirit Teemo, don't count, don't care. But because you have Spirit Ahri and you still need to run Yumi, because Yumi is very good, she's also getting buffed at 3-star next patch, I don't like to drop Yumi. So what happens is you will run Teemo instead of Kindred because I think blinds are better, and you also have to run Hecarim. The idea is basically the same as every other comp. You just get a lot more attack speed. You just have a lot less Mystic utility. So you're basically dropping 2 Mystic for 4 Spirit. Wouldn't recommend it, but again, if you hit Spirit Ahri, you're not going to say no to that. So there you go. Okay, so some last minute thoughts, just in case you're curious why I choose to run Sojin and Jinsu's Rageblade. It has a similar effect as Sojin and Runin's Hurricane, where obviously the more you attack, the faster you gain extra mana. And because Ahri gains the mana for herself when she shoots that Spirit Bomb as well, she can get off an ult probably every 3 to 4 seconds, which it just gets faster and faster. Essentially, if you can keep her alive after her first ult, she will crush everyone in the game. And it's a lot more reliable. It's the only real way I use a bow in this comp. You can make things like ZZ Rot or an RFC, I guess, but I think this is the best utilization of a bow in this comp. So that aside, that's everything I've got for you guys. Yeah, I really like making these guides. Please let me know what you find helpful. And again, like, follow, subscribe, all that good YouTube shit. And I'll be working on some new content for you guys. Hopefully I'll be out of Diamond 4 by the next video. Or maybe I'll be stuck here. And take care, guys.